Hello and welcome to Premier Injuries. We are getting near to the end of the Euros, so this is the semi-final discussions. Just before we get into any of the discussions today, though, I do want to remind you to remember to like, share and subscribe to the channel. We are growing here, and as we grow, we're creating such good content. We've got some great stuff coming up in the next few weeks. We've got some amazing Premier League content once this Euros is over, but at the moment we're still focusing on the Euros, giving you the tactics, the data and all the essential information you need to be successful. And just quickly before we get into all the discussions, Ben, how are you doing? Are you excited for this semi-final? And of course, it's football coming home.
It'll be hugely disappointing if it doesn't. Certainly getting to the final first and foremost. And it just occurred to me actually this morning, I was on the school run, driving home, and I've done a series of podcasts in association with Who Scored, Fan Team and Odds Checker. And at the start of the podcast 1 of that series, we were asked to list who we think would win, biggest flop, dark horse, top scorer, so on and so forth. I had the Italians down as my dark horse. I had Belgium to win outright. But the biggest flop, and this went against the panel I had for England. And of course, that brought up the obvious questions as to why. And at the time I said, I think we'll get beat in the semi-finals. And, you know, on any normal other year, I think that would maybe be a reasonable performance. However, with this group of players that we've got, and given the tournament as it currently is, I stand by those sentiments. It will be hugely disappointing, and it would be a massive letdown if we didn't win. And yes, we can talk about the Italians and, you know, how well they've played, and probably deservedly that, you know, they should get to the final as well. But for me, given the amount of talent and the depth of that England squad, and, you know, some of those big names, I think it's all for ours to take. So I hope I'm wrong in my pre-tournament predictions. We've got to get past Denmark first, which in itself is no mean feat. Carrying that wave of enthusiasm, you know, they'll have the backing of all of those impartial supporters. You know, what happened, you know, they've come from adversity from that first game, and, you know, you cannot deny that they've been absolutely superb in their last 3 games, and fully deserving of being in the semi-final. So it's going to be a really, really tough game.
Yeah.
But in answer to your question, I'm doing great.
I mean, this is the good thing. I've really enjoyed this tournament, but with every stage it gets further and further more worry-inducing that is England going to do it? Are they going to come through? I mean, Ukraine was an initial worry. I mean, on paper it seemed a bit of a mismatch, and then in the game it was as well. But just every game going into it, there is that worry if they can live up to the billing. And I think this is probably the most dangerous game that England have played so far, the most dangerous opponent. Denmark are really, really good. And even with Eriksen out of the side, they've adapted so well. They've got a great group of players there. And we'll get onto it in terms of tactical discussions, but it seems like they can nullify a lot of England's strengths. But let's quickly go into the transfers, not our transfers yet, just to explain to everybody. And I know this sounds like a broken record, but it is important to get your head round it. So in Euro Fantasy, you've got 5 free transfers before the semi-finals, and then you do have 5 before the final as well. And obviously with the Euro Fantasy, you can change your captain, change the team if your team doesn't do well on day one. But we're here for Fan Team. This is the one that we've been really invested in during this tournament, and it's been so fun kind of seeing how our differing play styles has played out in terms of our positions and everything. Fan Team, you have 3 free transfers before these semi-finals, and then you have none for the final. But an interesting thing is there's no budget increase, but Fan Team, I think, have been really nice here. They're actually allowing people to change their starting 11 and captain for the final. So you can't change any transfers, but this is quite unique because those who play the Champions League version of this game this year, once you'd done your team, whoever was your captain in the semi-final was your captain in the final, and you couldn't change that at all. But in this version, you can change your 11. And I think that is a really kind of nice change to that. Now, when we're making these decisions and transfers, tactics have to come into it, but injuries do as well, Ben. Got some questions for you. Of course, you are Mr. Knowledge on this. And am I right in saying, apart from Christian Eriksen, Denmark are all fit and ready for this semi-final?
Yeah, on the whole, your normal bumps and bruises as you expect at this stage of the tournament. Poulsen is managing an ongoing problem that he's had since certainly the group stages anyway. So in terms of Poulsen being able to go out and complete 90 minutes, unlikely, I suggest, which means that, if he does start, it's in and around that 60 minutes, or Dolberg could get the lead the line again for Denmark. Kaia is also carrying a little bit of a minor hamstring issue, but it's nothing massively important. He's a warrior. What I would say about these games at this stage, this is different to injuries that we look at in terms of the Premier League. These are one-off, high-profile, high-status games on one of the world's biggest stages. So players are going to be patched up. Kevin De Bruyne, prime example, with an ankle ligament injury, patched up and put out there for 90 or 120 minutes just to get through. If they've got at least one leg that seems to be working, then players are going to be doing their utmost to be included in that starting 11.
Now, one of the players that England might be worried about missing is Bukayo Saka. What are the latest updates with him?
Yeah, so at the time of recording, Saka is due with the England squad and should train normally with the group on Monday. Now, providing he comes through that, and there's nothing to suggest that it was anything too serious, he should be fit and available for Gareth Southgate. Now, Saka himself actually declared himself fit ahead of the Ukrainian game, but Gareth Southgate said we weren't able to observe him in full, at full intensity during those sessions pre-selection for him to justify a place in that England squad.
Interesting indeed, and I don't know if that will affect many people's selection points, but when Saka has been on the pitch, he's been fantastic. Another one when he's been on the pitch and been fantastic is Sarabia for Spain, but there are question marks about his fitness, isn't there, Ben?
There are, yes, we've got an adductor problem, so it's a groin issue from Sarabia. Withdrawn at half time in the quarterfinals, so that didn't look great. And of course, the Spanish, Olmo came on and had a great second half performance there. So one, the concern it's a muscle problem. We're waiting for the results of that MRI, and we should have Luis Enrique and update us at some point on Monday. Even if he's past fit, and I'm a Sarabia owner, and I'm concerned, I think maybe Olmo get that starting place in the 11 anyway. Again, it's a concern with it being a muscle issue and such a quick turnaround. So, even if the MRI comes back fairly positive, there are still question marks. And with other players who are similar position, playing at a similar level, then I think, there's no need for Enrique to take any unnecessary risks.
And looking at the other team in the semi-finals, we have to talk about Italy. Florenzi, he's been somebody that unfortunately missed out the whole of the tournament since that first game when he had that injury. Really heartbreaking stuff. But is there a chance that he could make the semi or the final?
Yeah, so he's there or thereabouts in terms of his fitness. That's a calf strain. But of course, Di Lorenzo came into that Italian backline in his place. And he's been pretty seamless. So it's hard to see Roberto Mancini, changing things too much ahead of this semi-final. Of course, we know there will need to be at least one enforced change, but I can't really see Florenzi coming into that 11.
So let's move it then on to the discussions about the games. First one of the semi-finals, Spain versus Italy. So yeah, do you want to go first with your thoughts and feelings on who's going to get through this one, Ben? And you know, who's going to be the important players to bring on, or do you want me to start off?
I mean, I can kick things off, and then you can hit me with data and tell me that I've been completely wrong and talking a lot of hydraulics.
I'm
But
sure you always speak good sense, Ben. I mean, this is why you're differential dinnery. You see into the future. You're mystical.
look, the eye test, and I suppose everything else would tell us that Italy should really dominate this and progress through to the final. They've been excellent, exemplary, high energy, high intensity, playing on the front foot, fully deserve the plaudits. And again, they're talking, I think it's a 32 match unbeaten run now, and confidence breeds confidence. And yes, they've lost Spinazzola, which is going to be a huge blow. But, in Emerson, he's not a bad replacement. It's just that we don't know where he is in terms of his actual sharpness. So Luis Enrique may look to target, that left back spot, just to see, to test Emerson, just to see how things are and see how he can cope maybe with the demands of the game of coming into the tournament on the back of, virtually sort of no competitive minutes across the whole of the season. Uh, you know, the Spanish team, pretty on the eye, nice football. First couple of games, they really struggled in front of goal. Match day 3 came to life, looked more like the Spanish team that we probably come to expect. There's just that nagging doubt in the back of our minds of whether, can we put our trust in Morata, Moreno if he starts, and then that leaves, the pressures on who else in that Spanish team to deliver goals. They've got the nucleus of what appears to be a decent team, but they're just not gelling and they're just not quite at it 100%. They are improving, I think, but with a team that you can't rely on them necessarily to get the goals when you need them at the crucial times. They're also a team that you can't really be relied upon to keep a clean sheet, and they're always at risk of maybe conceding as well. And I think with the high energy press of the Italian side, they could force one or two mistakes in that Spanish backline. Yes, they look better with Busquets, and I really do like Laporte as well. I think he's the only outfield player in that Spanish team to have played every minute of this tournament. But it's going to be an uphill struggle. It's going to be a big, big ask for the Spaniards. But I'm certainly not ruling them out. I've certainly, this is a game that I could see going to extra time. I think it will be, again, a little bit tighter than maybe some people envisage. And I'll edge with a 2-1 Italy in extra time.
I mean, I agree with you that Italy are going to win, but I'm thinking that there's actually quite a gulf in terms of the quality of these two teams. What you see almost on the tin, if you're reading the ingredients, you'd think, oh, this is going to be a great one. Two of the best attacks in the tournament, the teams who create the most shots per 90, shot creating actions per 90, shots in the box, most chances created, highest XG. So there's a recipe for some sort of amazing attacking football. But through this tournament, and this is something that you and I have said so many times, off air Ben and on air Ben, Spain just haven't been able to put those chances away, apart from against Slovakia, who you don't really count that one. And then the next one was against Croatia, which was a real freak of a game, but it was a highly entertaining one. But Morata, Moreno, so many of those Spanish forwards had just failed to put the ball into the back of the net, whereas Italy have been fantastic. And I think that almost the play style of Italy is going to be really kryptonite to the Spanish teams. So first of all, their defence is exemplary. Italy allow very few chances, and then the ones that they do allow through are very low XG per shot. So it's showing that they're doing all the right things in these games. And in Italy going forward, they're putting their chances away. They seem to be able to score outside the box, inside the box. They're just really, really good at scoring, and the pressing style of them, I think, will catch Spain out a little bit. I think Spain have been caught out by teams that have high pressed them. They've been caught out by teams that are a little bit physical. They've just been caught out by a lot of different styles, and Italy almost amalgamate a lot of those. So I think going into this game, I really, really don't fancy Spain. And the final thing in terms of the Spanish defence is Spain have the worst XG per shot conceded, non-penalty XG per shot conceded. So, yes, Spain haven't allowed a lot of chances in the tournament, but when they do, they're really high quality. And Italy are the type of team that just score those chances. So, I think that this is going to be a matchup of teams that really Spain don't like to play against Italy, whereas Italy will love playing against Spain. And so I think that this could be a clean sheet for the Italians. I don't see Spain scoring. I think Italy will keep it tight at the back. Yes, Spinazzola, as you said there, he's a huge loss. But if anything, this makes me want to have Verratti in my team more, because Verratti's just been absolutely sensational in this tournament. In terms of minutes per chance created, he's the best. In terms of shot creating chances per match, he's the best. In terms of key passes per 90, he's the best. He's just been sensational when he's been fit, and he's kind of grown into the tournament. So he'll be playing on that left-hand side of the midfield. He'll be covering for Spinazzola, and I think a lot of that creativity lost from him will therefore be given to Verratti, and hopefully he'll have a few assists more than you'd expect. So that's what really excites me. And I think that Spain, I'm going to say maybe 2. I'll agree with you there, Ben, a 2, but a 0 for Spain as well. And so, yeah, it means that I'll be looking basically at purely Italian players from this game and none of the Spanish ones. And just with the Sarabia situation, do you think that because of the danger of him, is it justifiable to transfer him out? Because I do have Torres, I do have Sarabia, and I'm just thinking it's not worth the risk. One of the key kind of things that you draw from Fan Team is you're already ahead if you just got players that start.
Yeah, if you have the luxury, and that's the big question heading into these semi-finals, if you have the luxury of being able to make a transfer without taking a hit, then Sarabia would be a player that I would earmark as potentially making way for somebody else, 100%. We'll see in our team reveal later on how I've managed to sort of make up my start 11, and I'll explain a little bit more maybe about Sarabia, who has been in my squad up until this point, and may still be in my squad. We'll wait and see.
Ooh, no spoiler alerts here. This is excellent. Then the next one is obviously England versus Denmark. I mean, I'll give my thoughts, and then you can come in on this one then, Ben. This game is what's interesting to me. Almost at the start of the tournament, a lot of people would have said, who are the best 4 teams going into the semi-finals? People would have probably said, maybe Portugal, France, Italy, very much outsiders, and maybe Belgium. They would have thought, that would be the semi-finals. But looking at the data on paper, England and Denmark, I would say Spain maybe not as much, but arguably they've been 4th in terms of the teams in the tournament, and then Italy up there as well. These are the best 4 teams, which is crazy to think about. And Denmark, I think England have a lot to worry about. We kind of know all about England. They've been fantastic at the back, not allowing many chances, hardly any shots, and obviously no goals conceded. Going forward, they've been a team of little opportunities but high quality ones, and so they really kind of let the handbrake off in that Ukraine game. But the other games, it's been 1 or 2 goals, and that's been it. That was the kind of level. Whereas Denmark have just been sensational. They sit 3rd for XG in the tournament. They're up there with Spain and Italy for shot creation, chances taken in matches, so many of that attacking bits of data. But there was this problem that both you and I, Ben, talked about a little bit earlier. Coming out of the group stages, going into the round of 16 and quarterfinals, was Denmark had produced this data, but they hadn't matched it. And now the last few games they have, and against fairly good opposition, the Czechs, are not going to berate them at all. They were one of the teams that you and I really like, Ben. And I think that the Danes kind of proved themselves to be a fantastic attacking outfit in that game. They continued their beautiful play style, lots of forward passing, lots of chances created, and really there could have been a few more goals there for the Danes. Their ball playing abilities are amazing. But the problem as well for England is obviously England are quite good with the defensive battles and aerial duels. But look at who's in the Danish 11. You got Kjær, you got Vestergaard, you got these really tall aerial prowess players. And so England might lose that gilded edge that they've had in their set pieces as well, which was one of the things that you'd get Maguire and Stones in for, because you think, well, like Maguire did in the last game against Ukraine, England are really good at set pieces. So they've almost nullified a lot of the areas on the pitch where England are really good at. This is going to be a really tight affair, and it is the toughest game of the tournament. In terms of individuals as well, I've been really impressed with Højbjerg. He's played more of an attacking role, much more attacking than he's been at club level. 10 chances created, one of the highest in the tournament as well for that. Millet has been incredible. And then you look at the England players, and Sterling has been all right. The England defence has been good. But there's not really kind of standout individuals like there has been with Denmark. There's so many there. Millet, Højbjerg, Damsgaard, even, Poulsen has kind of grown into this tournament as well. In terms of who I think will win, I think England will just have enough. I think that they will nullify that Danish attack, but this could go either way. And I think the big thing for England will have to be that they have to almost totally shut off the Danish attack, only let in one goal or even keep that clean sheet, because this game could get away from them if they let in more than that, because I don't see England scoring 2 or 3 goals against Denmark, but I could see Denmark doing that against England if England aren't concentrating enough. I mean, do you agree with that, Ben?
I certainly think it's a very, very tough game. It was interesting to hear from Kasper Hjulmand, the Danish coach, and he talked about his philosophy throughout this tournament. And what he spoke about, he said the Danish team, high energy, high intensity. He likes to utilize the depth of his squad. Bringing on, he said, I bring on 5 substitutes in the game because I want to maintain those levels, and I want to run the opposition into the ground. And maybe you could argue that probably England have only come up against one team like that in this tournament, and they really struggled, and that was Scotland. For what Scotland lacked in maybe quality, they certainly made up for in heart, in desire, in passion. They're in your face. England have been allowed to bully teams in a way. They couldn't bully Scotland, and arguably Scotland, well, maybe it's a little bit unfortunate. You're not going to bully Denmark either. They're going to be right up for this fight. It is a really, really tough game to call. I don't want to be known as the guy that is always looking for the cloud in the silver lining, but I try to be as objective as maybe possible. And yes, it was a decent performance against the Ukraine. It was, they weren't in our league, and I still don't even feel as if England have faced anybody of any real note. The Germans, on paper were great, but it's not a German team of old. And even then, the likes of Havertz caused us a lot of problems. Werner could have easily scored. Muller on another day. So, but it's hard to argue when you get the results. Now, we look back at this tournament and we think either Gareth Southgate is just a master tactician, playing the long game, playing this strategically tactical game of chess from match day 1, where he's changing formation, he's managing his squad, he's involved. I mean, did anybody see Sancho coming in for his first start in the quarterfinals? And Jack Grealish not being anywhere near that didn't even get any minutes, changing to a back four. Does he change it again? Do we look at Gareth Southgate as being, this new breed of tournament coach? Or will we end up looking back and thinking, you gambled just once too often against the Danes and you got caught out against a team which individually may not be able to match up, but as a collective unit who are fighting for each other. Like I say, for me, they're akin to Scotland with that little bit of extra quality about them. Let's not forget England faced them twice. I think it was in the Nations League, and we were unable to beat them on both occasions, losing once and drawing the other. So, there is a little bit of recent history there, and England will be going at this game with the eyes open. Let's just hope that they go out there and do a professional job. I'm trying not to let the hot rule ahead. England just to edge it, narrow. I'm going to go 2-1 again extra time.
It's coming home. When you said high energy as well, I just was thinking of Stott Aitken and Waterman. That just came to my head. I don't know why. They're the Stott Aitken and Waterman Denmark, and then I don't know what England's play style would be. Just what's a musical comparison?
Stott Aitken and Waterman. Hey, wait to put me on the spot. Well, maybe if you're looking at artists, when maybe England are more of your Rick Astley of Stott Aitken. He's just a little bit laid back, a little bit suave. He's got it. Whereas you could maybe put the Danes at an MC Hammer, full of energy, explosive, dancing around, of its time. Whereas England are more classical. They will see, they will transcend the music era across decades. Whereas MC Hammer, you may just think, well, at the time he was great, in the moment he was fantastic, but take him out of that or maybe more of Vanilla Ice.
There you go. Ice Ice Baby. I mean, let's hope that Denmark don't have the Ice Ice Baby in their veins so that England go through. But yes, so with that is our thoughts and feelings on how the teams will play. And so that has dictated our team selections. So let's go through then who we have selected. And I'm really excited actually because I haven't seen your team yet. I've had the tab open up on my computer waiting for this moment to see who your semi-final team is. And I think you've done the same. Just to let people know, I haven't set my captain yet. It was a little bit like last week. I made my team, but I left it on Morata, and thank goodness I didn't keep it on Morata. I actually went with Sterling. But yes, so Ben, do you want to start us off? Who is in your 11? This might shock people. I'm gonna open it up now and have a look and talk us through that back line.
Well, the team overall, there will be one or two surprises in there for you, Jason. Now, this was very heavily dictated by the fact that I was restricted to 3 transfers. I had to take 2 hits just to even get 10, hits. Possibly 11. So that's tough. I've had 2 goalkeepers all the way through, so I've got Simon and Donnarumma. Look, it is a coin toss, but I just think for me, I think they both concede, but I went with Simon. The last was a gamble. I'll go with Donnarumma. I think he'll make the final. So, and looking at budget and looking at who I could bring in, I've doubled up with Chiellini. He's one of the cheapest of those Italian defenders.
Yeah.
We've seen early on this one, he's a threat from set pieces. He's a leader. Will Italy get another major tournament out of the veteran defender? Probably not. I'm not going to say no. And he'll want to go out with a bang, hopefully. And like I say, he's always a threat. So Chiellini's in there. Went with a 4-4-2. John Stones being there from day one. Look, what is that to say about John Stones in that England backline? Fully deserving of. They've been really solid throughout, but I do expect Denmark to cause them a few problems. Melee, another player we've talked about, and he's been there from the beginning as well. And in Aymeric Laporte, tough call. Not one that I would necessarily went for, but again, it's probably because just the nature of the game in itself. I'm hoping that, if it is a tight affair, then it'll be set pieces, where maybe Spain will look to focus all of their efforts and hopefully look to maybe benefit and get the edge over that Italian team. And for that reason, Laporte has been in that backline. So that's my back five, as it were.
Yeah, really interesting. And what I think is telling is kind of through the tournament, you've almost spread your risk and gone with, certain teams, like players, from almost every team, kind of covering yourself a little bit in case one or two get knocked out. Whereas I don't know if I've gone more conservative or if this is more crazy, but I've gone basically down the middle. Italy, England, that is my team. But unfortunately, I did have to keep Melee in my team, which I will reveal in a second. But we'll go through yours first. And yeah, I mean, we talked about Laporte, set pieces, Spain. That's something that they've worked on. Italy kind of going through here. I like that you've got a double up at the back of Italy, because I think I genuinely do think that they'll keep a clean sheet. Of all the brilliance that Spain have displayed, I think you look at Sweden, kind of, yes, Spain did score against them, but Sweden still kept them at bay. This Italian defence is much more hardy, much more quality, and so I think Spain will be almost caught out by that. In the last game, they were humbled by the Swiss. Obviously, the Swiss beat France, but for most of the game, for a large stretch of the game, Switzerland were down to 10 men, and Spain still couldn't score, a winning goal. It had to go to penalties. So I think, that there is huge question marks over the viability of that team without somebody to score those goals. I think you can rest easy there. Honstones, somebody that I love, somebody that we've kind of talked about has been really good from the start of the tournament, been a fantastic pick and no questions there. And then Melee, I've got him in my team as well, purely because I don't want to take a hit to take him out. But if I was to take a hit to take him out, I would get an England or Italian defender. But he's an all right, solid pick. If Denmark are to score against England, he has a high likelihood because he has the highest XGI of any Danish player. He's been so involved with the attack. He's been absolutely brilliant. And I mean, he deserves to be in your team just because of that assist that he got in the last game. I mean, outside of the foot, that was sexy football, that was. Going on to my team, though, let's have a look at my back line. Pickford is still between the sticks. I don't think I would have taken him out anyway. Goalkeeper transfers aren't that fun. But I've got Maguire in there, Stones as well. Maguire does have that aerial threat, but I do think, as mentioned, it's going to be lesser against Denmark. And I'm just hoping that with those two, you get it from a clean sheet. And Maguire was in my team for the last round as well. So I got that lovely goal, clean sheet, just, so many lovely points there. Emerson is in there. I don't think he'll be up to that Spinazzola role, but it's kind of a toss-up between Bonucci, Chiellini, him, and Di Lorenzo. I think Di Lorenzo is almost at threat because, as we've kind of talked there about, returning from injury. What's the guy's name? Hang on. Florenzi coming back from injury. So I wouldn't risk getting Di Lorenzo in. Emerson is probably a more certain pick because they don't have another left back. But as you said there, Bonucci, Chiellini have got great aerial threat as well against a Spanish side that aren't really good at defending those kind of aerial situations. And then, as stated, Melee is in there as well. So Emerson could change. I haven't done these transfers yet, by the way. This is just kind of the provisional 11. So yeah, Melee could change. Melee will not change because I don't want to take a hit for for a defender. Unfortunately, it just means that I'll probably have 10 players in the final instead of 11. But yeah, what do you think about that backline there? I mean, would you go with Emerson or would you go with Bonucci, Chiellini if you had that extra bit of cash?
I mean, I did look at Emerson. I was quite surprised, maybe a little bit shocked to see him at 5.7. I thought that was a little bit expensive. And he's just a little bit of an unknown for me, coming, like I say, coming at the latter stages of the tournament with little or no play over the last season. So you wouldn't expect Emerson to be in tip-top form, whereas maybe some of those other Italian defenders who have, used to the cut and thrust of playing in this tournament. I just think it's a little bit more of a punt with Emerson. We don't know exactly what we're going to get with him. Played very little in terms of competitive minutes, not only for Italy but over the course of the domestic campaign as well. And at 5.7, I see more value in the legs of Chiellini. I think it looks more of a solid pick, and we know what we're going to get. But with the others, look, it's hard to argue. I mean, England's yet to concede, and a solid back three there. So, although I do think I'm just looking at your team. It is a big gamble. There is part of me just for a fleeting moment thinking, wow, can you imagine if we just went Spain and Denmark final, and you're knackered then, aren't you? But it's I don't know. It depends how you play in the game. I think for me, I am sitting in the money, and while I'm not going to win big, there's almost a conservative approach to how I'm playing this semi-final and final to not maintain, but I'm certainly not going to bust the lung to try and chase big money when it's unrealistic. Let's stay in the cash and take something home with us, and I'm happy with that.
So let's go on to your midfield then, Ben. As you said, you took a -8 just to be fully upfront with everybody. I took a -4 for my team because there was the Sarabia kind of incident, and so I thought, you know what, I'll get him out as well. Again, just to say, I haven't confirmed these transfers yet. Just waiting for as long as possible in terms of fitness news and everything with that. It's the wisest way to play, because somebody could just get injured in training, and that's kind of a message that we always say with Fantasy Premier League as well. Wait as long as possible as you can. Price rises are a bit annoying, but it's more annoying if you get a -4 in and then the player doesn't even play. You've taken a hit for no reason whatsoever. But yeah, let's look at that midfield there. And you have kept in Sarabia, but you do have coverage on the bench as well.
I mean, Sarabia, he had to stay. Even in the slight hope that he maybe comes off and gets 8 points, then I would still be, taking a -4 to get him out. Then yeah, I'm just going to try and roll the dice and see what happens. I mean, Vass from Denmark as well. I've got him on the bench who could come in. I'm not really expecting him to get anywhere near that Danish starting 11. So for me, I'm looking at 10 starters and then a 50-50 shot on Sarabia. If I get 1 point, great. Anything more than that's a bonus. And then it comes down to budget and seeing who I could work around. Højbjerg is, at his price point. Again, I've had to gamble on Denmark really, and play the odds just on prices, just to try and shoehorn players in. So that was his pick. But like we say, it's not the Højbjerg of Tottenham Hotspur that plays a little bit deeper. He has come forward. I think he's got 3 assists to his name, and look, in maybe what's a slightly tilted, maybe 50-50 shot. You know what? At that price and at the risk of not having to take any more hits, I think it's worth a gamble on those Danish players. Insigne, not much to say about him. He's been in there again since day one. You will be surprised by me 4th shout. I'm sure you will.
This is why I'm smiling so much.
Yeah, I knew you were.
You're saving the best till last, Ben.
I was. Do you know what? This is me playing the game as opposed to me playing whatever I want to do. And it obviously is Raheem Sterling. No, what it's. I actually picked him, and I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you. I actually had him in for the quarterfinals, because I expected England to do a job really on Ukraine, and I knew that if they did, and I didn't have him, that would hurt my overall rank. So Sterling is in the team and remains in the team. You know what it is. Like I say, I was very reluctant to break that news, but this was me about swallowing pride and playing the game and hoping to maintain, that cash finish or that cash place as it currently stands. So, yeah. And look, in fairness, he's one of those players in maybe he's with Insigne, who is pushing maybe for that UEFA Player of the Tournament accolade. So he's bored for that. For the opener against Ukraine to Harry Kane was superb. He's been in decent nick, probably one of England's best performers, certainly early on. So he is a lot of money to weigh in there, but if England are going to create something and put a performance and get through to the final, then you suspect that Sterling isn't going to be far away from getting those points.
Yeah, it's just so funny to see Sterling in your 11. Very cheeky to put him in without telling us there, but I rate it and I respect it. At the end of the day, you were big enough to kind of go, yeah, I'm near the money, let's do it. And that's what you have to do in this game. That's what you have to do with any of this fantasy sport. You kind of not let past burns and things kind of stop you from creating a really good team. And so in my team, I've got Insigne as well, Sterling as well. Captaincy is on him. I really don't know who I'm going to captain. Probably kind of speaking in what I said is my belief and gulf between Italy and Spain. It's probably better to do it on an Italian player. So maybe Insigne, maybe Immobile. I think that they're going to be getting in and around a goal or two in that game. But then looking at the other two in my midfield, I've got Verratti in there, and I'm really excited. He's one of my favourite midfielders in the world. In terms of his abilities, he is arguably one of the best midfielders in the world. And then you've got Mason Mount in there because I think he's going to keep starting. He seems to be he was Lampard's golden boy. I think he's Southgate's golden boy. I think along with Sterling and Kane and those defensive players as well, he's kind of the player who has to be knocked off his perch in terms of that England team. And so I reckon he will be starting. I was tempted to go with a more kind of differential pick, but again, the kind of key for success in fan teams seems to be just getting players starting. That seems to be the bare minimum. So yeah, I think with that midfield, I mean, do you have concerns? I think Verratti's absolutely fine, but do you have concerns over maybe that Mason Mount pick?
No, I like Mason Mount. Like you see, he's one of Southgate's blue-eyed boys, probably one of the first names on the team sheet, and he's had a great, domestic season. I really like the Verratti pick. I like the rationale behind it. Just to give you a little bit of context and how well he's thought of and how he's played himself into the tournament. He started off as 100-1 shot for player of the tournament early on. He's now as low as 16s to 20s with the bookmakers to get player of the tournament. So, Verratti, that injury to Spinazzola could be, he could one big player that benefits from that.
Yeah, I really do think that, and that's why he's in there. And as well, looking at his ownership, 1% ownership, I think a lot of people are sleeping on his brilliance. He is so good. And he's the central part of that team. If you look at pass maps of the Italian team, most of the balls are kind of going to him, and then he spreads it around the rest of the team. He is the architect, the creator, and he's just so brilliant. Let's quickly move it on to the front line then, and really differential dinnery here at play with one of the picks, and you've gone for Dolberg as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't need to touch upon Harry Kane.
No.
Dolberg, I do have the armband on him at the moment. That's not necessarily locked in. Again, this comes to me of, do I take the punt Or do I just go with Harry Kane and risk him not scoring? I don't know. Dolberg come down to first and foremost budget, but also secondly, and I do like Poulsen, the fact that Poulsen isn't 100% fit.
Yeah.
Dolberg got himself a decent goal, last time out. So I think, the coach will line up with Dolberg again. And, if he gets himself a couple of goals, maybe England win 3-2, then maybe I'm happy and it's a win-win for me on that front. But yeah, look, I was restricted. There aren't many options I had in and around that price point. So, and Denmark are scoring, so why can't Dolberg get himself on the score sheet?
Yeah, it's a very good point because he's one of the kind of central points. You've covered yourself with the main outlets of that Danish team in terms of Højbjerg, Millet and Dolberg. It's sensible, in terms of the way that you want to play the game. In terms of my team then, I don't think people will be too shocked that Immobile keeps his place and Sir Harry Kane is still in there as well. So I don't think I really need to go too much into that. I've explained how good I think Italy will do against Spain. I think Kane will do bits. Kane will start against Denmark. That's kind of one of the big points. And then I think if England do get through, he's obviously going to be playing in the final, and anything can happen there. And he seems to have found his shooting form a little bit more in the last couple of games. So hopefully that means that he continues that great run into the semis, into the final, and maybe lifting the trophy for England as well. But for now, hopefully some of you will be lifting trophies with this information, helping you with your mini leagues, your fan teams, your fantasy Euros, and that you'll be coming top there and maybe having gloating rights or even more than that. But for now, I'm going to wish you the best of luck. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Ben to sign us out. But that is the semi-finals covered, and we'll be back once more before the final to give you the lowdown and all the essential information. So make sure to keep subscribed.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Another fantastic podcast. Good luck, by the way, in those remaining games. Hope you can creep into the cash prizes, like me good self, and as long as I can maintain that grade. It's going to be interesting. I think there's still one or two twists and turns to come along the way, so I don't think it's as clean cut as everybody would like to think. But thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate all the views, all your comments, and for sticking with us. And before we know it, we'll be back, with the Premier League rundown. But for now, and the Euros, that is our semi-final preview done.